Impacting all of this, as we talked about, one of the other groups are the parents' participation. They support the child socially, the team socially. They're the support system for the child. The player is the social support system, is the family and friends. Right? When they're young, they're U6, U8, U10, U12, the family is the biggest social part. As they get to be teenagers, the friends take on a greater aspect of the social part. But as the coach and as the club, I need to be aware, what's the social support for the kids, particularly the most committed ones who are being asked to make the most sacrifices, and then how does that impact what we provide as a club, the environment that we provide, the resources that we provide, and the schedule that we allow, and that such. Okay? Parents need to provide the emotional and psychological support for the players, particularly obviously their children, but I submit that the parents, particularly with the younger preteen kids, all of the adults have a responsibility to all of those kids to set the right tone at the matches and the training session. And we're all part of that environment, not just me and my child, but knowing that the things that I say and do have an impact on all of those young minds that are out there, particularly the preteen players. Right? The ethical sportsmanship, fair play. Where do kids learn that? Where do young soccer players learn fair play, sportsmanship? Home. Home. The coach doesn't have enough time with the kids to teach that. Right? Those are moral values. Those are ethical values that are learned at home and to an extent at school. If I'm the under-8 coach, how much time do I have to impact that child? I get them for one training session or two. How many training sessions do you have per week for your under-8s? One and a match. So that's 2 hours total. Probably an hour training session, an hour match at that age group. So I've got them for 2 hours. I can't teach sportsmanship in 2 hours per week. Right? That's taught by the adults, predominantly mom and dad. Secondarily, the coach. Thirdly, the rest of the adults around the field, and other moms and dads, and the other kids. How do kids learn these sort of things? What's the main way that they learn it? Not from who, but how. Okay, experience. Where are they gaining that experience? Where's that experience?
Playing, school and home.
School, home, the soccer experience as well. So is it predominantly verbal learning or visual learning?
Visual?
Yeah. Children learn ethical play, sportsmanship, fair play, mostly by what they see, not what they hear. We can talk to them about be a good sport, play fairly, play by the rules and all of that. What they learn the most is how we react. How do we behave? We adults. Mom and dad first and foremost, secondarily the coach, next to the rest of the adults around my little soccer field. And so I learned as a youngster mostly by what those adults are doing. So when they have a hissy fit over the missed shot on goal, when they throw things down in disgust over the call made by the referee, when they start yelling and screaming at the 12-year-old referee, because it's usually a 12-year-old referee in a U8 game, right? That's where I'm learning fair play. I'm learning from those examples that are executed by the adults. It's the whole bit of your deeds speak louder than your words. Your actions speak louder than your words. That's where children learn fair play, sportsmanship, and ethics, sporting ethics, right? Is from the example demonstrated by the adults around the field. First and foremost, mom and dad, because of all the emotional bonding and all the obvious reasons as to why they learn predominantly from mom and dad. Secondarily, from the coach, because there's a lot of emotional bonding with the coach. The coach has a big influence on the growth of the child as a person, not just as a soccer player. And then the rest of the adults are around the field as well by the things that they're saying and doing. Right? The adults need to focus on, here's what we want the adults to focus on to help the kids. The process more so than the outcome. And most of the adults have it the other way around because as adults we've been beat up over decades to produce. Your boss wants to know about the outcome, not necessarily how you got there. Right? Unless you broke the law. Right? So as a child, the adults come in with this adult expectation of focusing on the outcome But how can I do the outcome if I haven't learned the process yet? Jay Miller used to be one of our youth national team coaches, said, we're asking our players to compete before they've learned how to play. They first have to learn how to play the game before they can compete within the game. So we have to focus, particularly the preteens, but even up through roughly age 15, we have to focus mostly on the process. How do they play? Right? How are they learning? How are they playing the game? What are the environments that I'm allowing them to learn how to play, the process of playing, before I focus too much on the outcome? This is not to say that we're not striving to play our best. We're always trying to play our best. We're always trying to win the match. But it's not until with the U.S. soccer, they don't focus on the outcome until 17. That we're trying to play to win. 17. Right? When you look at the KNVB, the Dutch Football Federation, they focus on the senior team, the World Cup team. Under 17 World Cup team, yes, we want to win, but we're more focused on how you play. They're not even necessarily all that hyped up about winning an under 17 World Cup. Or their under 17 men's national team, their under 17 women's national team. They're more focused on how do you play, develop, and come into our senior team at some point so you can win the senior World Cup. Right? If they won the Youth World Cup, they love it. Right? No doubt about it. Right? So here's part of what we're getting across is the outcome is something we're striving towards, trying to do our best, but it's not the top of the measuring stick. The measurement is less clear. A lot of the people want to use the outcome as the measuring stick as to how well this coach is developing players, how well this team is performing, based on the goals for, goals against record, and the one-loss record. Why? It's black and white. If I don't know very much about the sport, it's much easier for me to evaluate that way, okay, by the outcome of the match. The goals for, goals against, one-loss record. I have to know enough about the game to be able to see the subtle improvements that occur, to be able to use as a measuring stick. That requires a much more trained eye, learned eye, right? That's not an easy thing for a lot of club board of directors to understand, for a lot of coaches to understand, for a lot of the parents and the customers to understand. So it has to be part of the philosophy, the information that's delivered by the organization to its members as to how are we measuring success. Touch upon that a little bit in the one document called Vision that you have. Right? Those of you that have played soccer enough and or coached soccer enough know this about our sport. Jeff's heard me say this. This is the cruelest of all team sports. Soccer is hands down the cruelest of all team sports. It is the only team sport in which you can have possession of the ball for 70% of the match, outshoot the opposition 20-1 and lose 1-0 on that one counterattack goal that they got. And you've hit the woodwork 6 times. Right? I've had teams that have hit the inside of the post and it bounces out. Right? Not the front of the post, the inside of the post and it bounces out. And you go, the soccer gods just say no. It's not going to happen today. I don't care what we do. Right? The other team's barely getting across a halfway line and we lose 1-0 on that one counterattack goal in the last 5 minutes of the match because we've shoved everybody upfield. Right? Sort of a thing. And by the way, I've been that other team that had no business winning the match. All right, boys, get on the bus. Let's get out of here before they add on injury time. Okay? Get out of town. All right? Sort of a thing. So if you've been in the sport, you know that it can go either way. But the scoreline doesn't necessarily tell you how the match was played. I just talked on Sunday night, I talked to Nate Schatz, who's the technical director for Colorado, who was just down at the ODP Championships for USU Soccer Region 4 in Phoenix. And he was talking about, he coached one of the girls' teams from Colorado, and they were in the final against Cal South. Cal South won, okay, 3-1, or 3-1.
3-0.
3-0.
Both play, they won 3-1.
In the final it was 3-0, they lost. But he's telling me, saying it was 10 minutes to go and we're down 1-0. He says, if I lose, I don't go to the national championships. If only way I get there is if I win. I'm down 1-0, 10 minutes left to go. It's not going to make any difference if I lose 1-0, 2-0, 100-0. I don't go. So I press. They get counterattack goals. On the score sheet, it says 3-0. That doesn't tell you how the match was played. Okay? And what was the decision-making process that ended up with that kind of a score line. But people have a tendency in soccer to look at just the score and think that, oh, that team that won 3-0, it was obviously a landslide match. That's not how the soccer games go all the time, right?